Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we will take a look at some new revenge content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
First one is titled, Religious Entitled Mother Gets What She Deserves. Before we begin, I just want to say that I don't have a problem with religion or the people who practice it. I do have a problem with people who try to force their religion onto other people. Also, please tell me if this fits here or not, because while it did sorta ruined her reputation and such, it was more of a group effort. So it's me, male 27, my girlfriend, female 26, my cousin, female 15, her mother, Rep. Other people are also involved. So last year, before the pandemic started, my cousin came to visit us for about a week, and on the first day she came out to us that she liked girls and not boys. She knows that we openly support the LGBTQ community, so it was a little easier for her. We told her congratulations, we out to eat, and just had a good time. On our last day together, she asked us if she should tell her mother. I told her no. Hypocritical, I know. She got mad but understood why. Folks, my aunt, her mother, is the most Christianist Christian who have ever Christianed. She is very devoted to her religion to the point where it's an obsession. Doesn't matter if her husband came home from work at 4 a.m., she will wake everyone up on Sunday morning to go to church. She screamed and threw a tantrum when her son, male 28, moved out years ago, accidentally said, "God damn it," when he hit his toe. She wasted almost $2,000 of her daughter's college fund for a small house shrine in her backyard. It gets worse, but you get the idea. Before my cousin left, I told her that it's still her decision to tell her mother, and should anything happen, I'm just a phone call away. This past December she called me and told me she would tell her mother on her birthday, which was 2 weeks from then. I reassured her that I'm a phone call away. Well, her birthday has come, gone, and passed, and I received no word from her. I called her phone but no answer. I called her brother and he didn't know. I called the husband and he was gone for a few weeks due to work. I got worried and decided to call my aunt. Big surprise, she didn't answer. 2 more weeks later, I got a call from my neighbors telling me someone's been hanging out outside my door the whole day. I arrived and there she was, soaking wet from rain and tears. I asked her what happened. It's her birthday, and she told her mother. She saw Rep face go sour. Rep yelled at her and accused her of bringing sin in her house. EP grabbed her phone and smashed it to the ground. She then kicked her out with nothing. Not even her wallet. She did go to the police, but Rep told them that she ran away after Rep asked her to clean her room, and they believed her. For the next few days while living with Rep, her life was hell until she gathered the courage to make the trip to my house, which was 3 hours away by car. She did try to catch a bus, but because she didn't have ID or a mask, they wouldn't give her service. Same for a taxi, and with her phone in pieces, she couldn't get an Uber either. A family did give her a ride, but only halfway since they were going somewhere else. Thankfully, she arrived in our house before the whole freezing week. After the freezing week, her brother called my house, and after demanding to talk to cousin, screamed at her, asking why she threw stuff at their mother. Apparently the story both her brother and her dad got was Rep and cousin had a fight over a boyfriend, and cousin threw her phone at her mother. But before I could explain everything, he hung up. The next day she posted on Facebook about how awful cousin has been to her, how she ran away, and how she threw the phone at her. I was pissed. Here is where the group revenge started. I went on Facebook a few hours later using my mother's account. She blocked me, and commented what actually happened. I called her husband through my mom's phone and explained to him what really happened. I also reached out to her church and told them cousin's side of the story. Unlike Rep, the church had an open mind, not many but most, so after finding out, they ostracized her. She was no longer allowed enter their house of worship. Something about abandoning your child is a bigger sin. After finding out what really happened, the husband filed for divorce. Since he made majorly of income, he kept the house and kicked Rep out. I later found out he was just waiting for cousin to move out so he can divorce rep, but he had enough. Cousin went to the police, and after getting enough evidence from the neighbors, she filed to be emancipated from her. It took a while to go through, but she is finally free and is currently living with us. Her brother cut all contact with their mother since he also decided to support the LGBT community. Last I heard, she was staying at another church trying to get back on her feet. Next one is titled, "You Are Just Cattle to Me." This story goes back pretty much 20 years now. To set the scene, I was working for a then cable TV company. The call center I was working at had been filled with guys poached from dial-up support companies countrywide to support this new superfast broadband that was being trialed in country for the first time. 500K connections. I say this because that meant our call center at the time was full of some of the best support engineers anywhere in country. Some of the most intelligent people I have ever known. Anyway, after about a year there, 4 of us we asked to look into complaints sent to the managing director, hereafter known as Big Boss, about the service. Mostly, these were the original brand Karens of the day, but occasionally, the customer complaining was someone rather important and they needed the special touch, so to speak. Turns out the 4 of us has quite different skills but complemented each other perfectly, and before long, we were firm friends with the big boss's personal assistant at head office and had very good reputations to boot after some devilishly difficult issues. Oh yeah, this is before Google, so being good meant you knew your shit, not just how to look it up. It was a great place to work. Turnover was practically zero. The fact all our staff were experienced before getting to us meant we knew what we were getting into. Then came the new director. Hereafter referred to as a hole. A hole had come from another call center in the company. A customer services call center. He was also completely inept technically. Seriously, this guy once told me that directors don't use Excel and only Word, so I needed to copy all the spreadsheets into Word so he could modify the content and pass off his bullcrap figures showing all was well. He didn't understand how Excel worked as it transpired. Anyway, all was not well. In the short time he'd been there, he had alienated most of the best staff. He tried to turn the staff into script monkeys as he wanted every case fixed in X minutes. We were rebuilding TCP, IP stacks, hacking registries, hell we even talked a few people through Win98 rebuilds. You ever tried to talk your gran through changing a ringtone over phone? Now try imagining getting Gran to rebuild Windows after Macashit and Spymantech competed to see which could screw up her machine faster. Now try doing it in 10 minutes, or get hauled into a hole's office to be screamed at for ducking up his figures. Morale was utterly obliterated and we started losing good people. Head office knew something was wrong, so sent word down the line the big boss was coming for a meet and greet. That line went through a hole, so of course, on that day, some of the more vocal amongst us were roaded off. Those selected to meet the big boss were, I think the nice word is sycophants, or people who were instructed what to say and followed out of fear. Upshot, Big Boss went away thinking all was well, and there must be some other reason for the issues on site. My break point came when my team was given an impossible task. By this point, I'd already handed in my 30 days. Was about to become a dad, so needed to get a proper career going. He wanted a flow diagram of every possible fault we were dealing with and its solution. And he wanted it all on a single piece of A3 paper. We objected, he demanded, we failed. We got reamed. Our manager got reamed, and let me tell you, she defended the hell out of us. We tried in vain to explain the nature of the calls, to explain that the reason we paid these very clever people to do this job was because they were essentially playing tech support to a nation of people who had turned a computer on for the first time ever today, did something they didn't know was stupid and broke their machine. That means their internet didn't work, hence our problem. His response, at a volume comparable with a tornado jet taking off at full burner. I don't give a duck. Let me get this through your stupid ducking heads. You are nothing and I am a director, and when I tell you to do something, you do it or I will fire every single one of you. I can replace any one of you anytime I want because you are nothing but cattle. Now get the duck out of my office. I went home livid. My girlfriend at the time, pregnant with our first, worked in the same office, so while I was getting out, she would have to continue deal with the whole. Knowing how he intended to treat my friends and family, I needed to do something. I didn't have a clue what I could do. Friday, I go into work, ostensibly to say my goodbyes and do exit interview, paperwork and such. One of those goodbyes was a phone call to Big Boss's PA. Me saying goodbye was a shock because I'd been expressly forbidden to tell them over the previous month by, you guessed it, a hole. She wanted to know why I was leaving. I told her. She asked me if I minded her telling Big Boss what I had said. I'll be honest, I didn't seriously believe anything would come of it, but, what the hell, I thought. Sure. I'll get back to you soon, and she's gone. 20 minutes later, she calls me and says Big Boss wants to talk to me, so can he have my personal mobile number. I give it, and sure enough, minutes later the big man himself calls. The next 30 minutes is spent detailing why I was leaving. Why we had lost nearly 100 people already and had 18 resignations that week alone. Why didn't I hear about this when I was there the other week? So I related the little personnel shuffle and the threats. This was my moment, and I tell you, I carped the hell out of that DM. Me. Look, Big Boss, I get all you have is my word, and I could be just some disgruntled dipshit, but my friends and family are going to have to work here after I've gone. And by family I mean my pregnant girlfriend, so I have to do something. If you want to find out the truth, here is what you do. Turn up on site unannounced for a day. Send out your own email to the site as soon as you arrive, giving no time for a hole and his cronies to get to anyone. Tell them to come to you if they have any concerns. Here is a list of people that should corroborate much of what I've said. The rest, it's up to them if they want to do something. Then decide if I'm a dipshit. After a bit more chatting, the call ended and I went back to say goodbye to everyone. I told a few people, including my manager, what I'd done, and told them if Big Boss did turn up, to get in there and tell him what's going on. Then I bid them all farewell and said I would see them all at the mass leaving due at the end of the month. I'm at my new job the Tuesday after and I get a text from the girlfriend. Holy shit, Big Boss is here unannounced. More texts from other ex-colleagues saying pretty much the same thing. From what I gathered afterwards, Big Boss did exactly what I suggested, and it played out pretty much as I thought it might. There was a queue. A long one. That night, a hole was summoned to Big Boss's impromptu office, and after that meeting, he went home. He was never seen again. I did get a call from Big Boss. He can't discuss details, but I'll be very pleased to know I'm not a dipshit. Leaving due was pretty cool too. I think. On entry, I was told I wouldn't be paying for a single drink that night. From there my memory goes from fuzzy to total blank. The hangover the next 2 days was brutal, but totally worth it. Next one is titled, Mutiny at the Dinner Table. I'm reminded of an incident back in the 70s, when my mom got a job in the evenings 2 nights a week. Sorry, this might get a little long. My dad would come home from work, mom would have dinner ready. All I had to do was set the table, put the food out, and clean up afterwards. As the only girl, of course, I was responsible for getting dinner on the table and cleaning up afterward. It's important to note that there was a certain routine to our meals when we were kids. They were always comments, never malicious but almost always annoyed, when we would drop food, spill milk, talk too much, tease each other, kick each other under the table, standard kid stuff. Things like, can't you keep the food in your mouth? Don't talk while you're eating, that sort of thing. My dad was a great guy, still is actually. However, he could be a little short-tempered with 5 kids ranging from 9 to 16 frolicking around. At the end of every meal, when mom was home, when we were done eating, mom and dad would announce that they were taking their coffee into the living room, and for you kids to please clean up the kitchen. So one night, my next youngest brother and I decided to mutiny. We set the table so that I sat at mom's spot at the end of the table, he sat at dad's spot at the end. Dad had to sit on the side bench. He took it in good humor, kept a good attitude, and we proceeded to berate him with all the comments that they used to make to us. Same as above, don't talk while you're eating, can't you keep the food in your mouth? "Stop kicking your brother" kind of stuff. There was a 50-50 shot that he would go along with it and laugh, or that he would lose his temper. We knew we were taking our chances. At the end of the meal, I made eye contact with my brother at the other end of the table. We picked up our milk glasses, and told Dad, "We're going to go have our milk in the living room. Please clean up the kitchen." Of course, the look on his face was priceless. Nevertheless, he did it. We were stunned. We thought for sure he would have gotten very angry and pulled rank. One final thing. My mom is as particular about house cleaning. Everything has to be just so. It took me months before Mom could come home from work and not find something I missed. So now Dad gets to clean the kitchen. Come 10 o'clock, Mom comes home, looks around, and starts picking at all the things that Dad missed. He fixed it all. I'm sure he explained to her what happened, but it sure was a fun night of mutiny. I don't think we ever had the courage to try it again. But once was surely enough. Last one is titled, "Stop Throwing Things Like a Child." This happened in high school, I believe my sophomore year. There was a boy in my English class who was a constant distraction. Some people thought he was funny, but he was an obnoxious and arrogant jerk that bullied people. He frequently got into trouble with the teacher because of the disturbances. One day we had a substitute. He took it upon himself to be extra disruptive that day. Since it was English, we had a dedicated time for reading books. He decided to take this time and start throwing pieces of paper at people. I tried to ignore it for a little bit, because it wasn't directed at me, but then a piece of paper landed on my desk and he started laughing. So I said, very loudly, "Will you stop throwing things and being such a child?" The substitute, who apparently didn't know what was going on, said, "Who is throwing things? Raise your hand." Immediately after she finished speaking, I said, just as loud, "Yeah, raise your hand, child," which caused immediate laughter from the rest of the class. He seemed embarrassed. The fallout was that the next day our English teacher took him out to the hall and chewed him out. He was no longer allowed to turn around in his seat for any reason or talk to anyone, and if he did he would be taken to the office. Thanks for listening.